Hey guys, welcome to another video. So I recently had my CBSE 10th grade board exams, and in this video I'll be sharing with you all how I prepared for my exams, and I'll also share a few study tips which you guys might find useful if you're preparing for your exams. So let's get started. Tip number 1, make a to-do list to get your tasks done. Now I find this tip really helpful because it kind of helps me to study in an organized way, and when I finish a task and I just have to strike it out on the to-do list, it feels so good and is very satisfying. So after making a to-do list, I started by reading the NCERT textbook for English because the first exam we had was English. So I use this app called Forest to track my focus time, and it kind of also motivates me to focus more on whatever I'm doing. Okay, tip number 2. So if you're preparing for your board exam, make sure to go through the previous year questions because there are chances that some of these questions might get repeated this year as well in the exam. And then you also get an idea like what kind of questions are asked in the exam and how are you supposed to answer those questions. And you obviously also revise the syllabus while you're going through those questions. So this book actually had both the term 1 and term 2 portion, but I just needed the questions for term 2. So I marked those questions, and while revising I just went through those marked questions. I went through a few grammar topics after I was done reading a few chapters from the textbook, and then after that I also watched a few videos on YouTube so that I can practice a lot of questions, because the more questions I practice, the more confident I become about any particular topic. And then I wrote the format for a letter of order and letter of inquiry and a few sentences that I can use in every letter related to the topic, so that I can just read these letters before I go to the exam, and then I don't have to think a lot while I'm actually writing the exam. I also added a few more things to the to-do list after I was done with most of the things that I had planned. The next day, that is the day before the exam, I tried writing the names of the authors by myself, and then I cross-checked those with the NCERT textbook. And after that, I wrote a few basic sentences that I can include in most of my answers, maybe for introduction or conclusion, so that I don't have to think a lot while I'm writing the exam and I can just write these sentences. Then I went through the NCERT question and answers. In the evening, I packed the things that I had to take for the exam, like a writing board, a pouch, pens, and my admit card. Now, I know a lot of pens are not required, but I had like a pen and then a similar pen and 2 or 3 refills for it. So if one doesn't work, there is another one, or if the ink gets over, I have the refill. On the exam day, I woke up at around 6 in the morning. I got ready and then I went through my pre-board papers, and I also revised a few poems and chapters from NCERT. I was kind of excited to give the exam but scared at the same time because it's exam, like the final exam. I came home and I deleted all the screenshots and files that I had for English, both term 1 and term 2. I was very happy because the exam went really good, and all the literature questions were from NCERT, and the unseen passage for which I was scared was also good. I finished the paper exactly on time, so I wasn't really able to recheck, but it's fine, I completed the paper. And guess what? 1 or 2 questions were from our pre-board itself, and I felt so good that I had revised those papers in the morning. So for math, I started by solving the NCRT examples. I started with the constructions chapter because I find this chapter really easy. Like one part of it is deleted, so we just have like 2 or 3 constructions coming, and all of them are very easy. Actually, in this chapter, you just need to understand how to construct, and then you can construct with any measurements given. Alright, tip number 3. So if you're practicing math, make sure to practice the NCRT examples and also the NCRT exercises. And I would suggest only after you're done with NCRT, you can practice a few more questions from any other reference books that you have. So we had a 7-day study leave for math, but I procrastinated a lot, and this is what I do when I have a lot of study leaves. I procrastinate and then end up having a lot of things to do on the last 2 to 3 days. So tip number 4, do not procrastinate. So I was solving a few sample papers for math because I'm really bad at managing my time for the math exam, and all the marks I lost in my pre-board were because of time management. So I needed to manage my time. That is why I decided to solve a few sample papers. I tried solving the sample paper in both the ways. Like for the first paper, I started from section A, and for the second one, I started from section C, so that I can get an idea in what way can I complete my paper faster. Solving sample papers actually helped me a lot to manage my time and also complete the paper faster. So tip number 5, practice a lot of sample papers before your exam, and it is surely going to help you a lot. On the exam day, I went through a few NCRT solved examples. Now I know no one reads math, but sometimes just going through the questions and seeing what formula are used to solve those helps me remember those questions. I came home from the exam, and now it's the time to remove all these formula sheets that I had on my study table, and removing these felt so good. Okay, so a review about the exam. The entire paper was good. It was great except section C. And the worst part was that all the questions in section C were for 4 marks, and I just understood 2 of the 4 questions well. For the other questions, I just wrote the given and the things that I understood, especially for the circles question. Like I was trying to find all the clues that I could, but I was still not able to get the answer. So I just drew the diagram, I wrote the given part for the question, and I wrote a few things that I understood. I really wanted to do well in math for term 2 because in term 1 I already lost a lot of my marks in math. But it's fine. I'm still very happy that the math exam got over because I was scared for it. I was very scared for it. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, stay tuned for part 2, in which I'll be sharing how I prepared for my Science, SST, Hindi and IT exam. Thanks for watching.